Welcome into our Northern Nevada Toyota Dealers Mountain West men's basketball preview special. A new season of college hoops is almost upon us. He's Chris Murray. I'm Shannon Kelly. After the league earned a record 6 bids into the NCAA tournament last season, the Mountain West will look to follow that up again this year. But there have been some changes in the conference this season, Chris, as the league is going to a 20-game schedule for the first time.
This really has become the premier sport that the Mountain West offers, and that's the interesting aspect. Going from 18 games to 20 games, you're going to get a true regular season champion because everybody plays home and home. But does that impact the NCAA tournament burst because you're taking away a couple of non-conference opportunities to go out there and try and get quad 1 and quad 2 wins? You've seen conferences like the ACC actually cut back on conference games to try and have more non-conference opportunities. Yeah, 6 teams last year in the NCAA tournament and 4 in each of the previous 2 before that. So 14 teams in the tournament. During that period, you've got San Diego State to a national championship game. San Diego State making it to the Sweet 16 last year. Utah State getting to the round of 32. So a lot of positive momentum. And we'll see if the tinkering with the conference schedule impacts the ability to get some at-large bids into the NCAA tournament.
The NCAA tournament committee essentially penalizing the league for beating up on each other during conference play. We'll see how that all shakes out, obviously, this season. But here are just a few of the coaches sounding off on the new 20-game Mountain West schedule.
I was overwhelmingly for it before we got 6 teams in the NCAA tournament, at 18. But hindsight, you can't really go back.
When you're talking about seeding in the conference tournament or whatever, say whatever you want. Some teams on paper maybe have an easier schedule than others. This way it ensures everybody plays everybody. It's a true round robin.
Only time will tell. I've been one of those guys that have said no to 20 games because I think 18, we played 18 while I was at New Mexico, but we didn't have an odd number of teams. I like the idea of a true champion. I do like that. We had that when I was at New Mexico. Going to 11 teams, you don't have that playing 18. So I like the idea of playing everybody twice, but going to 20 league games does affect non-league scheduling.
Well, we've always voted against 20 games, but I'm a good soldier and I'll play 20 games because that's what the conference wants to do. But I think we're the perfect example. We finished in 5th place in the conference, but with the highest seed in the tournament because of what we did in the non-conference. So I don't know if playing 2 more conference games is to our benefit. I think playing 2 more non-conference games is to our benefit.
So a wide range of answers among the coaches. We'll see how this goes over in the first year. Taking a look at the preseason poll this year, Boise State named the conference preseason favorites under Leon Rice. 6 teams earning a first place vote. Chris, very interesting to see when this poll came out.
I think Boise State's the favorite, and I think that's right. But like you said, I mean, to have 6 teams get a first place vote, that does show some of the parity or maybe some of the strength of this conference up there at the top. San Diego State, this is the lowest they've been picked in several years. We obviously know the Aztecs are good. Nevada's been a contender. New Mexico's been a contender. UNLV and Utah State, they have the opportunity to maybe get to an NCAA tournament. I wouldn't count out Colorado State either, even though they didn't get a first place vote. So I think pretty even at the top. If we look at last year's preseason poll, Utah State picked to finish 8th. They finished first. So, it'll be interesting to see how those stack up at the end of the year. But I think any of those top 7 teams really do have a shot of maybe winning the Mountain West this year.
And it was a really tight race, too. It came down to the final day of the regular season when the Aggies were claimed the regular season league champions. Taking a look at the Wolfpack, led by 6th-year head coach Steve Alford, picked to finish 3rd in this year's preseason poll. Nevada returns a handful of players, including Nick Davidson, Trey Coleman, Daniel Foster, and KJ Himes, the most tenured player on Nevada's roster, while welcoming a handful of new faces to help fill the roles of Keenan Blackshear and Jared Lucas.
Those are 2 big losses, but you look at Nevada's projected starting lineup, and this is their year in college. 5th season, 5th season, 5th season, 4th season, and 7th season. You're talking about a combined 26 years of college experience. 4 of those 5 starters only have this year because of the COVID-19 year, not counting against eligibility. So an exceptionally old team, a pretty experienced team, a very talented and deep team as well. For me, Nevada's season comes down to what do you do in March? What do you do in the postseason? Steve Alford, the biggest contract in Nevada athletics history by a wide margin, a 10-year, more than $12 million pack, and through his first 5 years, no Mountain West titles, no NCAA tournament victories. So back-to-back NCAA tournament berths, but 2-7 in the postseason for Steve Alford. Not exactly what Nevada thought when it gave out that contract. Now the program is going in the right direction. Now can it take that final step to being a Mountain West champion and maybe a team that wins a game in the NCAA tournament.
Here is Coach Alford and a few of the guys sounding off about this year's team and avenging last year's NCAA tournament loss.
I like our depth. I like our athleticism. We've got good age. We've got good experience. So it's about staying healthy, and it's always a key. We were able to stay healthy all year last year until postseason play. And obviously losing Hunter to the Mountain West tournament and national tournament, that's a huge blow. And so hopefully we can stay healthy and just keep improving. We did a lot of good things last year. Most quad one wins, 26 wins. We did a lot of good things, and now trying to take that next step. And we've talked about it in the offseason. We've built ourselves to a contender role. Now we have to try to build it to a champion role. And so that's our next step, going from contenders to champions. And that's not always easy, but it's something I think this team's motivated to do.
Having this special group again, I think really motivates everyone to kind of just lock in and buy into what we want to do and really break that label from being a team that has lost in the postseason to one that can finally make something happen.
You know, obviously it didn't end how we wanted to. We were very close, but it didn't end how we wanted to. And, you know, it just serves as a chip on our shoulder coming into this year.
Trey Coleman and Nick Davidson there. They're obviously very familiar to Wolfpack fans. One of the new 6 faces Division I transfers Nevada added that you need to look out for. Kobe Sanders, 6'9" point guard from Cal Poly. Didn't do a lot of winning there, but did do a lot of scoring, and he was the Mountain West preseason newcomer of the year, so high expectations for him.
Coach Alford said he feels like he's ready to win games and take that next step forward, so it'll be exciting to see him out on the court as well as the rest of the Wolfpack this season. We have much more to get to here on Mountain West men's basketball preview show as we take a look at some of the contenders, including the conference preseason favorites. Welcome back. Taking a look now at the conference preseason favorites. Boise State, led by Leon Rice, who enters his 15th season with the Broncos this year, has guided Boise State to 11 20-win seasons. Can the Broncos take the next step and not only advance to an NCAA tournament game, but win a game in the postseason? I think that's one of the biggest question marks entering the year, and it appears they have all the tools to do so.
0-10 all-time in the NCAA tournament. Not all those losses under Coach Rice. Of course, the only team to bring back 2 postseason All-Mountain West players from last year, and Tyson Degenhart and Omar Stanley. And then they added San Jose State point guard Alvaro Cardenas, who's one of the best incoming players, even though he was within the conference, to come into the Mountain West. So, yeah, things are set up to not only win the Mountain West, but maybe do some damage in the dance.
Here is Coach Rice and Tyson Degenhart, the Mountain West preseason player of the year, talking about being picked number 1.
Trying to build a program, you know, you're proud of the fact that you can be picked first now, because it's been a long journey. And if you're picked first in the Mountain West, you're getting respect nationally, or you should be getting a lot of respect nationally, because history tells you that whoever finishes 1 or 2 in the mountain, when the dust settles, they're always in the top 25.
I think we're capable of making a deep run into the tournament. Just the bond that we have, the work that we put in this summer, and the grind that we put in during this preseason. I think we can go really far, but we can't get ahead of ourselves. We have a lot of work to do, and we're still an unfinished product, and we're just got to keep working day by day.
Taking a look now at New Mexico, led by Richard Pitino. He's in his 4th season with the Lobos, and all the talent is on paper as well for New Mexico this season to have a great year, despite Jalen House and Jamal Mashburn Jr. graduating, losing JT Toppin to the transfer portal. But they have a handful of guys coming back and added some new pieces this offseason.
Donovan Dent, a really good lead guard. He's going to take over for Jalen House and Jamal Mashburn Jr. You saw what New Mexico could do in last year's conference tournament, where they blitzed through the field and won the championship to get the automatic berth into the NCAA tournament. Always one of the most talented teams in the Mountain West. It's about, can those guys come together and play at a high level? Coach Pitino has a really talented roster again this year.
Here is Coach Pitino talking about his big guy, Nelly Jr. Joseph, and the impact he can have on this Lobo squad.
Nelly, people have to remember, Nelly did not get here last year until a week from today. He got here October 28th. And I threw him right into the fire because he was an important piece of what we were doing. He's been here all spring, summer, fall. We made sure the visa was good before he went home. And I think he's primed to have, my expectations for him and to be I don't care about individual awards, but you should be an all-conference type guy. Him and Donovan have been really, really good together so far.
Moving down now to San Diego, taking a look at the Aztecs led by Brian Dutcher, who enters his 8th season with San Diego State. And it's a pretty new-looked roster for the Aztecs this season, as virtually all of the guys who made it to that national championship run have either graduated or moved on from the program. But Coach Dutcher very confident in this squad that he's going to inherit this season.
San Diego State is the standard, but it'll be interesting to see if they could play to that standard because of those losses. Jaden Ledee, to me, the best player in the Mountain West last year, he graduated. Lamont Butler, the outstanding point guard and defensive player, he's over to Kentucky. Lost a couple more transfers. The guys they added via transfer, not necessarily like high production guys, but they're a young group of guys, very, very talented. So it's going to be a younger team. I think they'll get better as the season goes along, but it seems like a more vulnerable Aztecs than we've seen in recent years.
Miles Bird, he played off the bench as a freshman. He'll look to start this year. Reese Waters, how will he step in as the Aztecs' go-to scorer? And per a report from the San Diego Union Tribune, he'll actually be out about 6 to 8 weeks with a foot injury, so that doesn't help San Diego State early on in the year. But here is Coach Dutcher on some of his young guys this season.
Reese Waters is obviously talented and had some tremendous games for us last year, but got hurt, and we need him to be healthy and consistent. And then a lot of the newcomers. Nick Boyd has been hurt, so I haven't seen him much, but a guy that hits 4 threes against us in the national semifinal game 2 years ago starts out with a great resume. So we've got new pieces. We've got guys that have been in the program, and it's up to me to try to piece it all together where Aztec basketball can continue to be playing at the top of this conference.
It's a role that I think any college basketball player would want, any basketball player would want, where coaches, kind of looking at you to be great and do the things that, he recruited you to do. Last year I started off pretty good and then kind of fell off towards the end of the season, but I think just with my confidence and working on being consistent, I'm definitely going to be pretty good.
Over to Las Vegas now, taking a look at the Runnin' Rebels led by 4th-year head coach Kevin Kruger. This is a group that finished the regular season red hot last year, 10-2, and a 4th-place finish in the Mountain West. Went to the NIT as well for the first time in more than a decade. So how can Rebels look to capitalize, especially with DJ Thomas back this season?
And he's a tremendous point guard. He's one of the most fun players in the Mountain West. As a freshman last year, he was as poised as anybody. He's going to be even better as a sophomore. Now 3 of the top 4 scorers for this program, no longer with the program from last year. And then Kevin Kruger, he's done a solid job at UNLV, but it's kind of been like an NIT level program for the last 3 years. And I know they expect more down there with the Runnin' Rebels. So can they take the next step, which for them is maybe winning a Mountain West championship and getting back to the NCAA tournament for the first time in a long time? That's kind of the next progression, kind of required in year 4. I think there might be some hot seat talk if they can't take that step.
Kevin Kruger, an alum of the program. Here he is with DJ Thomas talking about some of his returners.
With the returners and the guys coming back, we have something, right, where we can say, like, this is kind of why we weren't in the NCAA tournament. And when you're farther from that opportunity, it's a lot harder because they're much bigger things, and they're much harder to emphasize. But we truly can, with this group, say, this is why, and it's not a big thing. It's something we can correct and something we've just got to do a little bit better.
I'm confident if we put the ball in the rim, they'll go get it, get the offensive rebound, go right back up with it, and score the ball. But it just gives us 2 post threats. We have a great passer in Rob and a great down low finisher in Bear. But yeah, I feel like those 2 together would that's a big front court. So I feel like I could definitely do some damage.
Coming up next here on our Mountain West men's basketball preview show, we'll take a look at the rest of the league, including Utah State, led by Jared Calhoun, first-year head coach. There's a few first-year head coaches in the league. We'll break down the rest of the teams. Welcome back. Taking a look now at Utah State, led by first-year head coach Jared Calhoun, one of 3 new head coaches in the league this season. The Aggies' 4th head coach in the last 6 years, and he inherits a program that's won 4 Mountain West titles in the last 6 years as well.
Yeah, that's kind of the curse, right? You have a lot of success, then your coach goes somewhere else. It was Craig Smith to Utah, and then it was Danny Sprinkle going to Washington after 1 year, and along with him going Great Osobor, who was the Mountain West Player of the Year last year. But 3 starters coming back, so this is a Utah State team that does have some good returning players, and I think they had one of the best off seasons in terms of getting guys from the portal as well. Got to gel it all together. Coach Calhoun did a really good job at Youngstown. Youngstown State. And I think this is going to be a really strong team regardless of losing the head coach and the player of the year.
Here is Coach Calhoun talking about his team's depth this season.
We can wear teams down. I think we need to be a pressured defensive team. We need to be an attacking offensive team. And, you know, the hard part is, you know, you're going to have 3 or 4 guys that have started every game of their careers come off the bench for the first time, possibly tomorrow night, right? So, you know, you got to have that mentality of team and we over me and the brotherhood. You know, we talk a lot about it's bigger than one person. So they've been great so far. We got to wear teams down, and we got to make that strength in numbers, you know, kind of our calling card with this team.
Over to Fort Collins now. Colorado State and the Rams, led by head coach Nico Medved. Rams will look to replace Isaiah Stevens, Colorado State's all-time assist leader, all-time scorer. That won't be an easy task, no doubt, but Nick Clifford, he withdrew from the NBA draft right there, and he is a big piece to this Rams team that's coming back this year.
One of the best wings in the Mountain West, but losing Stevens is huge. That's a 5-year starter at point guard. When anything was going wrong before the last half decade, they just gave the ball to Isaiah Stevens, and he was either going to make a shot or get a good shot for a teammate. So not only did they lose him, they lost a lot of pieces. So this is a team that won a first 4 game in the NCAA tournament last year. Nico Medved, one of the better coaches in the league, but this is a big job. They did go more to the D1 transfer portal. They've taken kind of like D2 guys or NAIA guys in the past. I think they're like, okay, we need some immediate guys who we know can play at this level. So there's still talent here, but there's a lot of pieces that are going to have to be put together just because Isaiah Stevens meant so much to the squad.
Here is Coach Medved on connecting as a team this season.
We talk about team together. I mean, everything's about the team and how do we find a way, you know, to make the whole greater than the sum of its parts. And, you know, we've got a really good group of guys. I've been really impressed with how many new faces we have, how quickly they've really tried to buy in and play unselfish and you know, buy into what we're asking them to do. And yeah, we're going to be a work in progress that way, but I think this is a group that can figure it out.
Over to Laramie, Wyoming, Laradice, as they like to call it, led by first-year head coach Sundance Wicks. He was previously an assistant at Wyoming, but took the job pretty late in May, so he signed 10 players in roughly 30 days. It'll be a rebuild in Wyoming this season.
Lost their top 6 scorers, and as you mentioned, Coach Jeff Linder, he took an assistant job with Texas Tech late in the kind of cycle. So a different situation, but he's got familiarity with the program. He was on the staff of the last team to make the NCAA tournament there at Wyoming, and he's a very good coach as well. He's got head coaching experience. But yeah, a lot of new pieces, a pretty big rebuild there in Laradice.
Coach Wicks, here he is on his transfers and being hired late in the cycle.
Well, you missed the freshman cycle when you get a job on May 15th, right? Yeah. So you're the last puppy at the bowl, all right? So we were the last job in the cycle that opened up and shut it down. And then you got to sign 10 guys in 27 days. And you try to recruit the people. The positions will work themselves out. And at the end of the day, you want to have good guys down in the locker room first. And so for us, do we want to do this every year? Absolutely not. It's not how we want to go about it. But there's no stranger to how we recruit human beings. And we want good human beings. We got guys with scars and chips on their shoulders, under-recruited, under-evaluated, underrated type dudes that live Wyoming tough, cowboy tough. And that's who the people of Wyoming get behind. They get behind that university, they get behind the brown and gold, and whatever the name on the back of the jersey, they're going to love you because you're a cowboy, because you chose us.
Over to San Jose, the Spartans led by Tim Miles. This is a group 2 years ago that won 21 games, then just went 9-23 last season. We'll see if the Spartans can rebound this year. As you had mentioned, Cardenas, their point guard, went over to Boise State. But they do have a few other guys returning this season.
Yeah, lost their top 4 scorers, so that's not easy to deal with. But they actually got a lot of transfers with Mountain West experience from other Mountain West schools, so maybe that will help. And then they got UCLA point guard Will McClendon as well. I think he should be a pretty good player in this conference.
Over to Fresno and the Bulldogs being led by first-year head coach Vance Wahlberg. He said this was the 4th time he's tried for this job. Now he landed the head coaching job along longtime high school coach in the area, so we'll see what he can do in year 1 with this program.
A really guard-oriented scheme, likes to score the ball, likes to push the tempo. Did lose his top 5 scorers and 8 of the top 9. The one of those 9 coming back. Jalen Weaver began his career at Nevada, stepped into the starting lineup for Fresno State midway through last season. I think he could be one of the better guards in the conference, and obviously he'll get the chance to score a lot with a new look roster.
Over to Colorado Springs, Air Force led by 9th-year head coach Joe Scott lost his top scorer, Ritas Petritis, to Cal. He does have 5 seniors this season. Really liked how this group is bonding so far together, but certainly Air Force, no easy place to recruit.
Yeah, no seniors on last year's roster, so they've been building toward this year because you look at their Mountain West record since 2020-21, just 14-59. So they do need a breakthrough this year. They did lose a couple players to transfer, but a pretty good experienced cast of guys coming back.
All right, we'll wrap things up here on our Mountain West men's basketball preview show with some picks and predictions right after this. Welcome back. Wrapping things up with some picks and predictions for the upcoming season. Disclaimer, we do not choose these picks together, although some are the same. So, Chris, let's hear your regular season champion.
I'm going to go with Boise State. They were on the top of the preseason poll, but interestingly enough, Leon Rice's team has only won 1 of the last 9 Mountain West regular season championships and only 1 of the last 9 conference tournament championships. So not a lot of banners, but I think this is probably his best team he's had there.
I'm going with Boise State as well. This is a very experienced group, knows how to win on the road, and that'll certainly be key in Mountain West play. Chris, let's take a look at your coach of the year.
I'll go with Leon Rice on this one. He's won it before, twice actually, 2015, 2022. I think if Boise State wins, he probably does win this award too.
For my coach of the year, I'm going with Jared Calhoun. It was really big for him to get back. Martinez and Falsev, those were 2 guys who entered the portal, came back. They should play a large role this season, but I think he'll do some great things in Logan this year. How about your player of the year now?
Tyson Degenhart. So I'm 3 for 3 with the Boise State Broncos. Just a really solid player. Obviously could have gone to a Power 4 school and made a lot of money in NIL, but he seems to love Boise State, and he's a very versatile player. He does basically everything really well on the court.
I'm going with Tyson Degenhart as well. We saw how explosive he can be the past few years and wouldn't expect anything less from him this year. How about your dark horse team?
I'm going Utah State. So you mentioned Jared Calhoun getting the 3 starters back, Mason Falsev, Ian Martinez, and Ian Johnson. So that's a really good experience from a team that won the Mountain West title last year. That's always a really hard place to play. They're probably going to go something like 9-1, 10-0 at home. If they could just win half their road games, a chance to win a title again.
All right, my dark horse team, Colorado State. Nico Medved, a very experienced coach in this league. I don't think you can ever doubt one of his teams. That'll do it for us here on our Mountain West basketball preview show. He's Chris Murray. I'm Shannon Kelly. Thanks for joining us.